when you begin to change the way you look at things, things will begin to change.
Have you ever suffered? I have. So you say, what are you smiling about? Don't you get it? Don't you understand? Yeah, I get it. We suffer. I think oftentimes we find in church a preacher, a multi-millionaire preacher, preaching to people who are poor about hanging in there and that God will bless you and that it's right around the corner and all this stuff, and it gives us a little bit of hope to hang on. But then after a while, come on. And so we find ourselves often in church living from hope to hope to hope and giving and giving and giving, trying to get this breakthrough, trying to get to this point that we're being promised so often is right around the corner. And so I want to tell you is that don't give up. It is right around the corner. Actually, you might be going through it right now, your wellness, but it just doesn't seem like it because you're still in the same condition that you're in. We find in the book of Ecclesiastes in the 3rd chapter, the 1st to the 8th verse telling us it's a season for this and a time for that. And sometimes it's a time to be poor, a time to be rich, a time to be happy, a time to be sad, time to live, time to die, time to love, time to hate, time for peace. You know, all that stuff. We know that. Ecclesiastes chapter 3. But there is a reality of whatever you're going through right now, it is the season for that. And I think the problem is that we don't learn from the season. I mean, you might take that season and look at the seasons, the seasons that we experience, depending on what part of the United States or the world that you live in. And you see that there's a season for winter, okay? And there's a season for spring, and there's a season for summer, there's a season for fall, okay? And then it starts all over again. But you know, there's a time to plant, and there's a time to sow, and there's a time to reap, okay? So depending on what season you are, there's a season to plant, and another season, there's a season to reap. But we find in those seasons that if we plant in the wrong season, there's not going to be anything for us to reap. You know what I mean? So we learn from the seasons that we go through. And if you're not learning, so it's not just about that there's an encouragement that you're going through this season and then another season will come about and then another season and we can just be sure that seasons will come. I mean, that's all well and good and that is encouraging to help you through a negative in your life. But I think the deeper message in this analogy of the seasons is to recognize that in particular seasons there are certain actions that we need to be taking, okay? And when we analogize the seasons to our lives, it's not like the seasons that we have, the winter, the spring, the summer, and the fall, where they always come one after another. The seasons in our life are often created by us, created by our actions or our inactions, and we need to learn from these seasons. And that's what the seasons are in our life, therefore, is to teach us so we might learn and understand a few things, okay? Because often we find, especially whatever the things that we're going through, whether it's relational, whether it's financial, whether it's health, the job situation, which I guess is financial, but your job as well. The things that we go through are oftentimes caused by us, okay? and so the problem is that we suffer all through a particular season in our life that we caused, okay? And then when that season happens to be up, because God is merciful, you know, the day does come, okay? The morning comes after the darkest of night. But if we haven't learned anything from that season that we suffered through, which was caused by us, then we're going to suffer through that same season continuously. And money is a prime example. Because often we're buying things that we don't need and spending money when we should be saving it. Investing money, rather than blowing it, or moving our investments to something that makes more sense. We need to be doing something, and so we can look at a particular season of our life that might be manifesting in a particular way and say, not just that we just have to hunker down and live through it because, the morning will come soon enough, but to recognize why we are in this mess and try to figure out a plan to get ourselves out of it. I think one of the greatest detriments to the body of believers since its inception in the European idea of Christianity, as well as the Euro-American idea of Christianity, is this whole idea about heaven. The whole idea about waiting for Jesus to return. I mean that's fine, but what about now, okay? What about while we're here? How much time do we waste? How unproductive are we? Focused on something that's out there in the future. okay? I'm just suggesting a lot of the issues that we go through right now is because we've maintained that mindset. I mean, in every other area of thought and experience over the past, say, 400, 500, 600 years, we've evolved. But in this one particular respect, waiting for, Jesus to come and waiting and all this is sort of, for many folks, has caused us to be less than productive in taking care of what we're going through right now. My philosophy is this, that the future will take care of itself. Be good, do good, walk after God, try to do the best that you can to be the best that you can, but still take care of your business right now. And whatever happens, however it's supposed to happen, it will happen. And it has no effect on what's going on right now. And that's what I'm just suggesting today, is that just to be more focused, because a lot of the situations that we're going through have been created by us, and then when we come out of that situation, we find ourselves getting right back into that same mess. It's sort of like maybe taking out a loan to pay off all your bills, or consolidate your bills, or pay them all off, and get it together, so now you can, function, without the pressure of all those creditors on your back. But within 3 months after paying everything off, you're right back to where you were before. So what is it? It's a prime example of a season, a terrible season that you might have been living through, but you didn't learn anything through that season. So once that season was over, the same actions were taken, or inaction was taken, and caused that season to repeat again. Okay, so even the analogy in Ecclesiastes of season can kind of fool us sometimes into believing that we have no control over the seasons. Like we don't have any control over the regular seasons we go through, but you do have control over the seasons in your life, and you should be learning from those seasons. And if you're learning from those seasons, you should be getting better and better and better. I think money is a prime example. The Bible tells us, right? Money answereth all things, and all these things the preachers tell us, to get us primed, to give that offering and pay that tithe. And I believe in giving to the church. Don't get me wrong. But I think we need to have that same enthusiasm about taking care of our own business. So I would suggest is whatever it is you're tithing to the church, make sure you're tithing that into your savings account or into your 401k. Or probably better, into a savings account, and then when you have enough money, buy maybe a rental property or something. Flip it or rent it out or something and make some money. But whatever money you're putting into the church, tithe that same amount of money into your own account. That's what I would suggest. Take care of your business. See, we're given to understand even in Scripture about the steward, right? And about stewardship. And about being a good steward over that which God has given us. Okay? And so we're always looking at it as far as money goes, especially when it's being ministered just before offering time, about being a good steward of your money, and part of that is giving to the church, okay? But I would say your most prized possession, the most valuable gift that God has given you to be a steward over is yourself, okay? And so if you're not taking care of yourself, you're being a poor steward of that which God has given you, okay? And so oftentimes we're looking around maybe for more things, for stuff, and maybe even for ministry, or for, you name it, whatever it is, the desires of your heart. But God is saying, well, how are you taking care of that which I've already given you? And so part of it is that financial thing. Another part, I hate to, is your health. And one thing I've seen, I grew up in church, okay? And then even as I had that epiphany of God when I was like 28 years old, almost 30 years ago, and came back to the church at age 28, that, I was in an apostolic church, Pentecostal church, PAW. A lot of good, serious, hardcore believing Christians, But there were a lot of overweight Christians, okay? A lot of unhealthy Christians. And so you can tell me all you want about stewardship, about giving to the church or giving to this, but if you're not a good steward over the most valuable gift that God has given you, and that is your life and your being, what are you really, okay? What have you done with what you were given? So I think we really need to begin taking care of ourselves. Part of it is our finances, the other part is our health. I think everything else will begin to come together. That to me, even when you look at our communities and in our neighborhoods, what's going on? We're just not taking care of ourselves. We're unhealthy. We have so many vices. We're just not taking care of business. And so I'm suggesting that, first of all, the encouragement of the seasons is that the seasons do change. The seasons are going to change in your life. But if you don't learn anything from that season that you're in right now, if you don't learn anything positive, the season is going to come back. It's going to repeat. And I'm suggesting, and it's what I've always ministered is don't give up. It's never too late. It isn't too late. My mother, she's older than me. I'm not allowed to tell her age on the air. But she says the one thing about getting elderly is that in your mind, in her mind, she still thinks like she did when she was 17 years old, but she's not, okay? And so the positive thing is, in that, is that whenever things get well, it doesn't matter if it's taken many, many, many years of your life. At this moment when you are well, nothing else really matters. All the suffering, all that you've been through, it doesn't matter if you're well right now. So that's what I mean when I say it's never too late. It's never too late. But you need to decide right now. You need to make a decision, a choice for your life, because the season that you're in, it's going to change. But it'll be back if you have it. That's all I'm saying. God is merciful. We all know that, to all of us. God is full of mercy. But again, we want to find a place, I think, to get ourselves out of the need for the mercy of God. Not for the mercy of God in the sense of grace, and all that. But I mean in the sense of always having to bail us out of the situations or the seasons of our lives because we keep messing up. See, there is a presumption that we have. I remember once there was this guy that was in a terrible strait, and I loaned him like $1,000. And I made a deal with him, like every 2 weeks, every payday, to pay him back like $80, which really wasn't that much. I didn't even calculate how long it was going to be, but it wouldn't take about about a year or so, not even that long. And what I find is eventually, the guy would stop coming to work on payday, So it just wasn't happening. A couple $100 was paid off, and then he just stopped. And they just wouldn't show up, and it was a mess. And I was getting mad, You know we are. We're believers and all, but we do get mad. And eventually, it was like I had to forgive him of that debt. Now, I had to forgive him of that debt because I couldn't afford to stay mad all the time. When he didn't come to work or he didn't have it or whatever, it was just getting me really upset. And as a believer, we can't walk around like that. So I knew in order for me to be well, I had to forgive him of that debt or I was not going to be well. Okay, I'd just be mad all the time. So I told the dude, one day I walked up and said, look, man. Look, I don't know if it's ever going to get paid back, and I'm just so aggravated. So why don't we just forget the whole thing? Just that the debt is clear, free and clear. You don't owe me anything. And he was all, thank you. He was all happy and everything. And so he went on and he began to talk. He began to tell me and proclaim that this was God just blessing him. Okay, that he didn't have to pay back this money that he owed. Now then I started getting aggravated again. All I'm saying is that's presumption. Because God is merciful, God will continue bailing us out of situations, but not because we're in the right, but because we're just not learning the lesson. And trust me, since then, that was probably 3 or 4 years ago, this guy's been in financial straits probably 15 or 20 times since then. Because he didn't learn that lesson. Because we believe, because we get bailed out of a situation, that we have somehow prevailed, somehow overcome. But if we don't have peace in the midst of the storm, and God comes along and bails us out, often it's not because of our obedience, and it's not because of our wellness and our insight and our depth of understanding. It's simply because we were never going to get it, and God saved us out of that mess. Okay, that's how good and gracious God is. But that's presumption. That's continuing to do things. Continuing to spend your money. Spend your money when you don't have money. Spend your money when you have bills coming up, when you have a mortgage payment coming up. Putting money in the church when you're supposed to be paying your mortgage. You see what I'm saying? Or your rent. Or your electricity. And then you get your stuff shut off. And where you at? I'm saying is that there's just some common sense going in there with some of the stuff that we have been suffering through, and if we begin to learn those lessons in the seasons of our lives, we'll be more well than we have been. I think the biggest tragedy, as I guess I go back to in just about every program, are our children, because our children are watching us. Our children see the situations that we're going through, and our children really don't blame us necessarily. They just grow up without this being something abnormal. And the habits they get, the spending habits they get, the attitudes they get about things that are important often will mirror our own. I grew up, I didn't even know a person could get electricity shut off. I didn't know you could get your water shut off. I mean, that's the kind of family I came up in. Now, I'm sure times were tight, and my father knew, but we never knew, and we never experienced it. We need to get ourselves back into that type mindset to begin preventing problems before they arise, making the wise decisions. I've been considering some things, maybe some steps, because it seems, to me, as far as the finances are the biggest deal, okay? I mean, the relationships are important as well. Keeping your job is just common sense. I mean, don't say stuff you shouldn't say. Do what you're supposed to do. That's your job right there, so that's not that difficult. And as far as your health is concerned, you really can't, I mean, come on now, just eat right. Don't overeat. Don't eat after 7 o'clock. Quit eating fattening foods. Exercise, right? Put away all that, quit eating hamburgers and pizzas and all French fries and all that stuff. And just try to eat regular food that's good for you. You'll probably find yourself saving some money in the grocery store. But I think the hardest thing for us to do, especially after we've lived for some time as adults now, especially maybe without a job that makes a lot of money, or maybe even in a situation where we just waited for so long of getting ourselves out of the financial messes that we're in. So I'm going to give you some hints. I'm going to give you some practical reality here. The first thing to do is to pray. Say, God, help me. Give me an idea. And if you pray that and you're for real, you'll get an idea. Now, in the meantime, do what you can do. Like I would say, get a little box or something, a big jar, and every day just put your change in it and don't touch that change. Start saving money. Start right now where you're at, and for the next 15 years, just drop that money in that change box. I'll tell you an interesting story. I just read on the internet today about this woman. She was an exotic dancer, and she saved up her money. She started when she was 18, and she's 33 now. And her plan was to buy a business one day. And so she saved her money as much as she could. From the time she was 18 till the time she was 33, she has over $1 million right now. She was driving to New Jersey to purchase half of a bar. That was her plan. She got pulled over by the police for speeding. They saw her money. They thought it was drug money. They confiscated it. She sued them, got the money back. A judge ruled that, she made this money legitimately. I mean, exotic dancing and all. And she's on her way to go purchase that half of that establishment. So what I'm saying is she had a plan. I don't know if she asked God for that plan. But the scripture tells us, seek and you will find. Knock and it shall be opened. And see, we equate that to simply, little seeking for Jesus, and knocking for Jesus and all this. But the reality is it's the seek. It doesn't qualify. It's just seek and you'll find. Have an open heart. Be looking. For me, I pray, but just be thinking about it. If you think about a plan. And a lot of times the problems that we have is because we stay high too often. We stay drunk, we're drinking, and we're getting high, and we're doing things we shouldn't be doing. When we're involved in that stuff, where our minds are clouded, we got that buzz going on, we don't have a clear mind to think. As well, it's been scientifically proven that if we're not eating the right kind of foods, we're not thinking right either. So if you need a plan, first thing you got to do is clean up your act. Stop getting high. Stop drinking. Stop doing immoral things that you shouldn't be doing. Believe it or not, I'm talking to believers right now because we're doing that stuff. We've been in this so long, we just gotten kind of lazy. But I'm saying we got to clean up our act. Do what you can do. And then say, God, give me a plan. Do what you can do. You can't do everything, but you can do what you can do. Some of y'all know I've been working out for the past 4 or 5 months. I mean, I've had some injuries. I've had like 4 or 5 injuries over the course of this thing. And oftentimes someone will have an injury when they're working out and say, well, I'm just going to sit out and wait till this injury gets better. But no. I mean, I had this injury in my back. Well, it's just my back. Got 97% of my body going on. I was able to work out. I had this injury in my shoulder. Still do a little bit. So I said, well, 97% of my body's still okay. Some of y'all remember that abdominal injury I had for like 5 months. Well, that's not my whole body. I was still able to work out. And so what I'm saying is, in your life, there are situations that you're going through that you can't control right now. Now, you may have been the cause of it happening. You may not have been the cause of it happening. But the reality is, this is where you're at. So don't just sit down and lament and, oh, woe is me. This is the mess I'm in. It's time to do something. Do whatever you can do. That's what I'm saying. Take this time to exercise. And for me, exercise, come on. I'm in the basement working out, okay? So that didn't cost me nothing. It doesn't cost you anything. Eat right. It'll cost you less probably eat right than to be hitting a fast food place, every day of every week. So it's going to save you money. Quit smoking cigarettes. You're going to save money. Quit drinking alcohol. You're going to save money. Quit smoking weed. You're going to save money. Quit playing the number. You're going to save money. That money you're saving, drop into a jar. Come on. What I'm saying is ask God to help you, but do everything that you can do to help yourself. Ask God to help you get in shape, to get your health back. We got a lot of brothers and sisters walking around with bad knees because they're overweight. High cholesterol. Oh, well, black folks just have high cholesterol. Wrong. I mean, why is that? Well, probably because of the food that we're eating. And the lack of exercise and our lifestyle, the soul food, all that stuff we're doing. We're killing ourselves. What I'm saying is it's about time, okay, soul food is fine, but this is 2013. It's like cigarettes. My dad had a master's degree. He was a teacher. He was a top enlisted man, the E9 in the military. Went off in the civilian after he got out of the military. Got more rank, a lot of prestige. Everybody liked him. Intelligent man. Taught at the local college. Smoked cigarettes. But back in that time, he would say, well, they've never proven it, that it causes cancer, Well, guess what? Lung cancer. Took him out. Now he may have had an excuse. Because the people from back then, they had an excuse. They didn't understand. Okay, but now there's no excuse smoking cigarettes. It's ridiculous because we know that cigarettes cause lung cancer. Cigarettes cause emphysema. Cigarettes cause all kinds of stuff. Secondhand smoke, messing with your kids. You say, well, I have a grandfather, he lived till he was 90 and he smoked, so he was lucky. Okay? Then what's that got to do with you? All I'm saying is we know stuff now that we didn't know then. So the soul food, the chitlins, the pork, all that stuff you're eating is killing you. You need to quit. And then ask God. I'll tell you what, I believe that, who am I? I am nobody. I'm a mailman in West Dayton, okay? So I'm no doctor. But I say this, man. If you have a doctor that will replace your knees that are defective because of your weight, without having you first lose the weight that's caused the defect in your knees, that doctor should be, he should be fined or fired or something. I don't know. If you are continually doing something that's causing the sickness, you need to stop doing it and then have the sickness treated. And so I'm saying that as a God perspective, do what you can do, and God will do what God's supposed to do. That's the message. So don't give up, because I'm telling you, I've lived through things you would not believe. I have been poor. Okay, I have been homeless. I have gone through the addiction stuff, alcoholic. I don't know if I was an alcoholic. It's like if you can afford it. I don't know. All I'm saying is there was another side to Pastor Mark. And I can tell you from experience that God will turn it all around. No matter where you are. God turned it around for me when I was 28 with the lifestyle that I was living. Changed me from that. So then I'm on the right path, and as a believer, after being an atheist, and then and then I get married, and then I'm like, I lose everything. Just like 9 years ago, about 9 years ago, lost everything. God turned that around. And even in that season, I realized the mistakes that I was making, what I should have been focused on. Even in the course of that financial debacle, that season in my life, I learned, that's why. That's what happened. I mean, so there are so many keys here. But it's not very difficult, and it's simple to understand. You don't need to buy a book. You don't need to get an audio book. I'm just telling you now, start eating right, start saving your money, and begin praying and asking God to give you an idea. Your whole life will begin to turn around. And your kids, family, pray. I can't, as many of you know, I'm a non-traditional minister. But, and there was this marketing group that wanted to represent me, and us, and sort of put us out there and do things for us and all, and schedule engagements and all this stuff. And so we gave them my website so they can get an idea about how to promote. And they looked at my website, this was just within the last week, and said, well, we can't have a relationship with you because you're just too far from traditional. You know what? At first I was kind of disappointed. I thought, well, maybe I just won't say this anymore. I won't say that anymore, and I'll just. But no. There are some seasons in your life you're not in control of either, and some seasons, some things you have to be thankful for, but still learn from them. So we're in the middle of some stuff right now that we just need to recognize and trust God, that God is ultimately in control. But we just need to continue doing all that we can do. Do what we can do. And trust God and believe that God is going to take care of everything else. That's it. That's all that we got. And so what I'm saying is, so you don't get too disappointed about things that you want to happen that don't happen. Just focus on what you can affect. And the prayer, I'm telling you, every morning, after I work out, I have certain aches and pains. I pray, God, this, God, heal. Thank you for healing this. Thank you for healing that. Just pray. God is faithful. God is so faithful. Just pray and believe and do the best that you can do. Try to be good. Try to walk in integrity. Try to be honest. And as I was talking a couple of weeks ago, at work, there are times at work, I think the longer you're in your job, there are certain things that you can get away with and do that aren't quite right that everybody else is getting away with when nobody's looking. You got to stop doing that too. And that's one of the hardest things in the world because nobody's looking. And it sure would be a lot easier. And everybody really knows that nobody's doing it the right way, but you can't. Because there's an integrity issue. It's a tough one. But anyway, I guess I've talked long enough. I hope you got something out of it. The bottom line is do not give up. There is hope. You're in a season in your life right now, whether it seems to be good or seems to be bad. My position is it's always good because all of your seasons are a time for learning. Learn from the season you're in so that season will not repeat exactly. Oh, trust me, it'll be back again one day, but maybe not with such intensity or maybe in another way to give you another lesson to help you progress in your spiritual matriculation and growth. How's that? Well, anyway, I do hope you found encouragement in this message, and I want to thank you for